Awesome.
Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Shawnee County Board of County Commissioners work session. On my far left is Lisa Schmidt, our county clerk. On my far right, Rich Eckert, our county counselor.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
Good morning.
And on my left is Commissioner Aaron Mays, who represents District 3. And on my right is Commissioner Kevin Cook. He represents District 2. I'm Bill Rippon, and I represent District 1. First thing on our agenda is the capital improvement project discussion. And Jennifer, there you are. Take it away.
I'm a little short. Jennifer Sauer, Financial Administrator. Good morning, Commissioners. We are here today to go over our 5-year capital improvement project plan. These range multiple funds and multiple departments. So I have the requests for this year grouped a couple different ways for you. Straight out the gate, this is a 5-year total, using all the different funds of about $192,500,000 worth of capital improvements that departments have let us know that they're needing or wanting to have done over the next 5 years. Broken down by fund, as you can see, the largest part is flagged for new debt. We have several large items that the departments have flagged as potentially needing to have new debt of some type over the next 5 years, and that's just under $80 million. Second to that is out of the public works funding sources, and that is at $69,500,000. Then a sharp drop down to capital outlay at $27 million, which seems like a nice small number until you remember that our standard budget is $2 to $2.5 million per year, so we would expect that to be $10 million to, I don't know, $12.5. That would be within what we kind of have budgeted, so that is a very large number for us over 5 years. Parks, our Gage Park Sales Tax Fund is right under $8 million, and then we have 3 different funds that are very small. The Motor Vehicle Fund has a project for $400,000. The Weed Equipment Fund has a project for $400,000, and then our general fund budget of $150,000. And that is, we have a department who flagged a project that they're planning on funding out of their own departmental budget. So I'm just going to get into the non-general fund budgets first. Our Solid Waste Fund, this is their 5-year plan. They have, it looks like 7 projects planned over the next 5 years, and this is basically his equipment refresh. This is the plan that he has over the next 5 years. Before we go through that, did you guys have any questions specifically? I know he went over this in his departmental budget, but I didn't know if you have any specific questions that you wanted to ask about this.
Well, this is, of course, not tax supported here.
This is not tax supported. This is, and this is also, nothing we're doing today is, I believe, we're not taking a vote, we're not doing any of that. We're just discussing the capital improvement plan so that you guys have a better idea of what you plan to do on Thursday when we start talking about the budget.
I do not have any questions.
I don't either.
Okay. Next, we have the Public Works funds. They have multiple sources of funds: special highway, special bridge, special machinery, infrastructure, county sales tax, and they also have, some of these projects are partially funded from these funds and partially funded from the capital outlay fund. And again, this is their best estimate on the day that they put together their CIP plan, which would have been back in June, on what they thought the next 5 years would look like for projects.
Okay.
Any questions on this one? It's nice and cool in here, so I figured you would want to hang out for a while.
So none of this is from the general reserves or from property tax?
That is exactly right. We won't get, we have about 3 more slides before we get to that.
Okay.
All right.
Good here?
Okay.
Okay, we have a couple departments who have some equipment funds, and one of them has some projects that are planned to be paid out of that, and that is the weed department building expansion. And I believe, let me take a peek. Make sure, yes. This is actually 50% of the project. The project is a total of $800,000, but he has it budgeted to be 50% out of the building or equipment fund and 50% out of the capital outlay fund.
Can I ask Mr. John Landon to maybe just give us some background on this building expansion and where these funds are coming from?
Good morning, Commissioners. John Landon, Director of the Weed Department. So back 5 years ago when we planned this, it was kind of early stages of trying to figure out how to fix some of our needs in our building that we've outgrown. And so then, this has just been sitting there simmering all this time. And so it still shows up now. I think more than ever, it's probably simmering even more because with the uncertainty of everything that's going on with maybe moving extension and all that, it really leaves everything just kind of wide open.
So do you actually have 800,000 or are you wanting 800,000?
No, it was a split funding, 400 from the county and 400 from us, and we currently don't have 400 sitting in our capital. It's probably, it's under 2. I don't remember exactly what the number is off the top of my head. So again, I don't know that this project is going to be, Commissioner Cook, I would say this project's not going to move forward in 27. It would probably be pushed to 28, maybe 29 until we got some, answers on what's the best location, what's the overall plan.
Right.
So, but I don't want to pull it. I still want it to be there just so it's still at the front of the radar for everybody.
I was just trying to actually understand if we had 400,000 that was set aside in an account for this project, or if this was money that you're wanting to have set aside.
This would be money I want to have set aside, but again, it wouldn't be anything that we would have to do in 27.
Okay.
Good. All right. All right. Yes.
John, at one point, we were looking at taking over some of that storage space next door to you guys. Have you ever done that, or?
We have never done it. They've not given us 1 square foot of that building yet. So,
Okay.
I think with the Zamboni and sport court, and I don't believe everything panned out like we anticipated that they were going to be able to store a lot of that up there, and so it's fall down in that building. So.
Okay.
Commissioner Rippon?
Yes.
We've got Mr. Rockers here. He might be able to enlighten us on what's the status of that space and why the weed department hasn't been able to move in or what their needs are for that space there. Mr. Rockers, I don't know.
Been in the room for like 30 seconds before we call you up. I love it.
Show up late, you get called out early. So we have done some cleaning down there. We're reorganizing some stuff. So we still will have about a third of that building that we can turn over to John. We've just been slammed with projects that we're trying to get through. So,
Is that even reasonable, or is that space that you're going to need in the future?
honestly, we could use all the space we can get, right? But I do believe that we can make something work and give him some of that space.
I mean, I know that John and I have talked off and on about looking at if there's a better space for maybe consolidation of K-State Extension, Weed Department, maybe Conservation District, looking to find a joint space for them. And nothing miraculous has appeared on the horizon yet, but if there's some consolidation efficiencies that we might be able to have.
Sure. And like I said, John and I had talked, that eastern third of the building is kind of what we're trying to get freed up to give him. So we should have that, I'm hoping, before we get into our busy season, towards the middle of September. We should have that ready to turn over to him.
Matt, while you're here, in that same space, if I was out there with you, we walked through the building, there was no stairs to the second loft area there.
Correct.
Have those been replaced?
No,
Or-
so we didn't, the stairs were something that Parks and Rec built. They just didn't want to use the ladder that was built in as part of the original upper deck storage, so we just put the railing back over
Oh, okay.
that, so that way there's no fall hazard, and then we just utilize the ladder.
Okay.
And then those are removable guardrails, so that way we can forklift stuff up and down off of there.
Okay, great, thank you.
John, this expansion, is that all for chemical, or is it chemical and equipment, or?
Thanks, Matt.
Well, so it's going to be for a little bit. Our building, our office space is adequate for everything we have in staffing. Our main need is going to be for vehicle storage. Our vehicles have to be stored inside just because they're typically loaded with chemical, and so we can't have a spill outside with somebody opening a valve. The drone trailer and then chemical. So everything's going to be more shop vehicle parking, nothing for an office area.
All right, thank you. All right.
So did you guys want me to move that back to 28 for now?
I think that's probably
That's probably
good.
more
Yeah.
realistic.
Okay. Move it in both spots. Oh, shoot. Okay. So then, next we have Parks and Rec. Funding sources. They have 3 different funding sources. This year, they sent CIP requests for just the one for the Gage Park Sales Tax Fund, and they have 6 different projects that are large enough to qualify as being a CIP project. Did you want to discuss that at all?
Yeah, Tim, could you? Are these fairly realistic expectations, like for 27 that could be funded from sales tax? Or is this, like for
Are you talking
27?
about the,
For 27, you have.
the
6
Gage Park?
Yes, yes, I'm sorry, Gage Park.
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, the carousel, actually, you could take, you've already approved, which I don't know if that's listed up here or not, if you.
It
can-
is,
I don't-
yeah, it is.
So that we've already approved. That Westlake Dam shelter renovation is a pretty accurate number. It might be, hopefully it's just a smidge under that. The number that I got was about, I think it was $1,430,000 was the estimate. But that was done through, we had an engineering firm that went in and did all the, they assessed the lake, the problems that we're having. They're the ones that came up with that fee. We didn't pay for that. The Gage Park Improvement Authority and the city of Topeka teamed up together to pay for that study. And so I'd say that's a fairly accurate number. And as far as the rest, yes, we have talked to, I think all of those are, I feel good about all those numbers.
The accessible ball dime restoration, what does it need?
So there's large cracks that have developed on that accessible ball diamond, which obviously is not a good situation for a ball diamond that's specifically geared for accessibility. We looked at 2 different options. One is, we have gone in, let me back up a little bit. We've gone in previously, I think it was maybe a year or 2, would have been maybe 2020, around there. We went in and filled cracks, but they quickly redeveloped. It just takes a couple of winters before that goes away, and they're continuing to get bigger. So we looked at 2 different ways of tackling this. One was to tear it out, put it back in, post-tension concrete. That's significantly more than this. This is going in with, sport court, yeah. So if you look at Hillcrest, they did sport court on the futsal courts at Hillcrest back in, I think, 2018. Maybe it was a year or two before I got here. It has held up beautifully. Like, I'm just extremely surprised and impressed with how well it's held up. So we would fill the cracks and then put the sport court over the top of it, and I think that would be a great fix. But it's still fairly pricey.
Tim, are the cracks still sort of level? Like, are we gonna have to grind the concrete down in any spots?
It's been a while. It's probably been since we were working on the sand volleyball, when that first started, when I walked out there. They are fairly level. They're just getting wide.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And the Rose Garden refresh, would that be accessible walks or new fixing the
I think,
pools, or-
staff is very, staff's not super high on the accessible, I want it to be accessible. It is accessible now, but I don't think they're really pushing that hard for the concrete walks. There's irrigation in there, that presents some issues. If you start putting concrete there, it makes it harder to work on, harder to get to. We talked about doing some concrete curbing around some of the beds. A lot of this price is doing the rehabbing and adding to the pergola that's there on the end of it for weddings and things like that. And we're coming up on the 100-year anniversary of that in 2030, so.
Okay. All right. Any other questions?
No.
Gage Department, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Next.
I'm just gonna slide a note here for myself. Okay. Miscellaneous funds. We have, these are just onesie twosie things that have popped up that we just created a slide for. We have Public Works, which has indicated they have a North Annex equipment shed they'd like to have in 2028, paying, and they plan to budget for that out of their general fund departmental budget. We also have the Treasurer's Office is looking at doing some rehabilitation of some sort for the motor vehicle annex office. And that would come out of the motor vehicle fund. So that would be about $400,000. Any questions for either of those departments?
No. Okay.
And then we get into the capital outlay fund. So this is the 5-year breakdown of that $27 million. Predominantly, the sheriff's office is requesting $10,325,000 over the next 5 years. And then we drop down to a couple departments who are requesting about $3 million over the next 5 years, which is the Department of Corrections and the Elections Office. There's a little asterisk, let me tell you, on the Elections Office one. The project is $3 million. We already have $700,000 set aside in a project fund for that. So that actually would be 2.3. Parks and Rec is asking for 2.4. We have a couple departments that are about 1.5. That's Emergency Management and the Event Center. And Public Works. And then District Court and Facilities are looking at right around $1 million over the next 5 years. IT is at 545 or 575. We already talked about the weed department's 400,000, and then the general expenses section has 500,000, and that is what we use for what we call our small item CIP, which would be kind of where we pick up any of the items that don't qualify for a CIP in and of themselves, and that they're not over $50,000. They still are a cap outlay item, but they're large enough that most of the departments that request this don't really have a budget that could sustain a one-time purchase of any kind. So instead of building all of that into everyone's individual budget. We just have a $100,000 item in the general expenses category that we then fund at the end of the year. So, that being said, here are the 2027 requests for the capital outlay fund. I have 3 updates to this list, which are going in the correct direction, so let me do that first. The first item is the Adult Detention Center Inmate Transportation Vehicle. Director Cole has reached out and said that actually would be a 2028 item. He thinks that they can wait another year for that one. So that would just be pushing it out a year. They still have the need for the item, just with everything else that's being requested, that would be a lower priority for him out of his department. And then the infrastructure design, the plumbing infrastructure design, they believe they can find that money in their budget that they have already submitted for request. And then the last one is the fiber connections to the county buildings along Rochester Road. Mark has indicated that that is probably going to be a 2028 expense due to where it will fall along the timing of the Rochester project. Did I get that right for all of them?
So, Jennifer,
Yes.
so this is with the Rochester Road project that Public Works will be doing down the road, right?
Yes.
Is there not $60,000 in that project budget that can just, I mean, it seems like this would be something that would be part of that project. I mean, the coordination between IT and Public Works on this is going to happen one way or another. Shouldn't it just go through the GC?
I've been talking, Mark Price, Information Technology. I've been working with Kurt on this. Part of this money will actually kind of do the last mile. This will, the Rochester project will put the fiber down Rochester Road, I think from just north of 24 Highway to 46th Street. We will then need to get the fiber from 46th Street to the complex on 46th Street and then under 24 Highway to where we can pick up city fiber at, I believe it's Lyman Road, south of 24 Highway. So there'll be some additional expenses there that would not fall within the scope of the road project.
Okay. It seems like a pretty low estimate for that then. If we got to go under 24 Highway,
I'm guessing with the cost, because a majority of it's going to be picked up on the road while they're doing it, bores like that can be done for this amount of money.
okay. Thanks.
This looks tiny, sorry.
Thank you. That helps.
I just looked up at it's really
And
nice
print.
and large on my display. So, did you guys have any questions or preference? And again, we're not getting votes on any of this today.
The election tabulator, since that's somewhat of a function of the state, do they ever participate in funding for something like that? No. I see a head nod back here. Okay.
It would be nice, though.
I wish.
So currently, the need for this, outside of what we already have funded, sits at 2.3 and a quarter million. So $2,324,000 on top of what we already have set aside. And unfortunately, this is one of those items that it's computers, yeah, you can come on up if you'd like. It's computers, it's one of those items that do not bode well for financing.
Yeah.
Morning, Jake Fisher, Shawnee County Elections Office. Yes, these items, these are our tabulating equipment, these are our high-speed ballot counters, these are our poll books, and these are our ADA touchscreen devices. And so all of these items, the poll books were purchased in 2021, a 5-year life cycle, so they are there. The other equipment was purchased in, I believe, 2016 or maybe even 2015, so 10-year life cycle on that. And so we are trying to squeeze every bit of life that we can out of those items, but they're coming to an end.
New equipment, is that about the same expectation, 10 years?
Yes, on the tabulators, the touch screens, but on the poll books, those are, they're a computer-based product. So, about 5 years on, they're basically a tablet is what they are.
So a lot of times it's great when the CIP projects are 20-year life cycle at least.
No, absolutely. And that's where in the last couple of years, we've tried to realize savings within our own budget, primarily trying to, save on the people cost, we'll say, keep overtime down, things like that. And that's how we've been able to set aside that $719,000 just for over the last couple of years, just some budgetary savings to try to lessen the blow.
Yes.
Jake, I know there's a lot changing in the elections world right now. Obviously, we're going to have a new Secretary of State next year. There's also, technology changing pretty rapidly right now as well. And so is this something that we maybe spend this money and then 2 years from now find out that everything has changed and we have to buy new ones again?
Right now, we're being very cautious. We've had several vendors in to do a run through on their equipment, and we're trying to do all of our due diligence on that. But at the same time, we are watching everything at the federal level on down. Here in the last month, there's been changes at the EAC with those commissioners, and so we are watching that very closely and trying to be very wise with how we do this. So at the same time, we're dealing with two separate issues. When you look at it, on one hand, we've got equipment that we know is getting to the end of its life, but on the other hand, we do not want to rush out and buy something tomorrow because the landscape is currently shifting, and so we're trying to watch that as well. So it's just a very delicate time right now.
How many poll books are there?
Oh goodness, we have over 400. Because every polling place, we have 87 polling places, every polling place gets at least 2, and many of our polling places get 4 sent out on election day. We have ones that are set up just for early voting, which is going on right now until noon today. And then we have to keep a number, of course, in reserve because sometimes there's an issue. And so when that happens, you just pull one out of service, get another one set up, and get it in service.
So is the expense in the software or the hardware?
It's both. But
Because
right now,
there are tablets out there that are virtual. They're pretty inexpensive.
Right.
I don't know. Are we buying like $1,000 tablets or $100 tablets or $10,000 tablets? I just need.
we
to know,
get those through our vendor because, of course, they are licensed with the product from the vendor on them. So that's how we get them, is through the vendor.
Okay.
Because we need, of course, as you can imagine, we need everything to communicate and work seamlessly. And so that's the problem. You can't buy tabulators from one vendor and then buy touchscreens from another vendor, or you shouldn't, because you want everything to work together.
Okay. And do we have any? We don't have any security concerns with our current system or anything like that, right?
No,
Okay.
no concerns whatsoever.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Okay.
So because of the useful life of these items, as well as the size of our capital outlay budget in general, this is something that we have discussed being a potential use for some reserves that we have, in that if we bond these, those will be paid off over the next 20 years, which does not make any sense to pay off items that have a 5 or 10 year useful life over 20 years. You're just building yourself a pile of debt for assets you no longer own. And then, like I said, it's at $3 million, or 2.3, which is essentially our entire 2027 cap outlay requested budget. So that's one of the reasons why we've kind of said that if reserves are really kind of, I think, a good use for this, as well as continuing to have a plan moving forward to where we continue to set aside any leftover budget in the elections office or contingency budget for this project so that it kind of has a smaller burden whenever it comes around again.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Jennifer, I know that we've had some ongoing discussions over the past 2 years for this item, or 3 years. We've known this is coming up. What are the state of our reserves currently in excess reserves that we might have available, knowing that we need approximately, what'd you say,
2.3.
2.3 million?
I have that here. I just don't have it on my fingertips yet. I thought I had it here. I can get it shortly.
Okay.
Would you suggest then we replenish that fund? Or do you think we're okay there?
As
I mean,
far
we're-
as
We,
the project fund?
yeah,
Yes, I think moving forward, we should have a plan that we continue to replenish that project fund with any excess funds that they have in their elections budget. Because as Jake mentioned, in 5 years, after purchasing these poll books, we're probably gonna have a need for more poll books. And I don't have that with me, I'm so sorry.
I have another question
Oh.
for Jake.
I have it.
Sorry.
Nope.
So Jake, what's the difference between a ballot tabulator and a high-speed ballot tabulator, and why do we need both?
The DS200 tabulators that you see on there, those are the ones that go to the polling place. So we have, it's either 170 or 175 of those. We use those during early voting. The high-speed tabulators are the ones that we have downstairs in our central count room. We use those for mail ballots. So when we receive mail ballots and we wait and do those in large batches, they can count those at a extreme, I mean, gosh, I can't tell you how many they can do in a minute. It's incredible. As opposed to the ballot tabulators that we use at polling places where you feed the ballot in one at a time.
How many mail-in ballots do we typically get, like in a presidential election?
Oh, goodness. I'm trying to think from last year. Obviously, the number has dropped since 2020, but I'm trying to think in 24. I want to say it was about 9,000 or 10,000, roughly. Like, for example, this year, in this election, we mailed out just under 3,900. And we've already gotten just over 2,000 of those back as of last Friday.
And how long would it take if you had just a regular ballot tabulator, how long would it take to put those through the machine?
Oh, goodness. One at a time, half a day. Somebody just standing there feeding it in.
Okay. All right. That's all I need. Thank you.
Sorry, I had this set aside and forgot where I put it. It's like my Christmas presents. Let's see, so the way that our reserves are calculated, our goal is to have a reserve of 20 to 25% of our general fund budget. So our 2026 general fund budget is $155,767,000, which puts our balance goal at between 31.1 and 38.9. That's where we would like our fund balance to live in order to be hitting our goal for our fund balances, which is something that is looked for several reasons for how we get our debt rating and all of that. Currently, our fund balance at the end of 25 for our unaudited financials is at 42.7. So that leaves us anywhere between $3.8 million and $11.5 million of reserves. Our excess reserves, so the amount that we have over the 25 million is currently at 3.8 million. So that's how much we have in excess reserves. And this has been the first time we've been able to really talk about using our excess reserves, because this is the first time we haven't had the R&R lawsuit, which could have claimed up to $8 million from that.
Jennifer, can you talk to us, I know that we're getting a little bit off topic with my next question, but can we go ahead and talk about why wouldn't we just use this $11 million to lower the mill levy for Shawnee County taxpayers? What would be the implications from that?
Well, there's a lot of implications. The first implication is based on where our budget is for '27, you would immediately be at the end of this year outside of your fund target, your fund balance target, because our '27 budget is looking at being higher than our '26 budget. So our goal in '27 would be to have that fund balance between 33 million and 41.4, which means at the end of '26, if we do nothing else, our excess reserves drop to 1.5 million. So if we would spend all 11 million, we would now be $2 million, $1.5 million short of even hitting our fund balance. We would be under 20%. So that's the first thing. Now, getting our budget, that's based on the budget as it was presented at 165 million. So getting that budget down releases some of those fund balance reserves. Aside from that, just kind of revisiting the information, I pulled up all the information whenever the county actually set the fund balance policy. The list of items that we would need to use our fund reserves for, it's for providing cash flow, obviously, for county services during a natural disaster, for securing and maintaining our favorable our bond rating, preparing us for economic downturns and revenue shortfalls. So should we have a recession that causes people to pay their taxes at a rate slower than usual, which we have not experienced yet, we would be prepared for that by being able to dip into our reserves in order to give us the cash flow we need. Provide funds for unforeseen emergencies, funds for unfunded mandates, as we talked about earlier, like the needing to replace we don't know what's coming around the corner for election requirements. We could need these items. We could need something completely that we have never known we need before for our election items. And that will be a mandate. We will have no choice but to get those items. And so we need to make sure that we have the funds in place so that we can do that when we are mandated to do so. And then to offset or reduce revenue from other governmental bodies, or eliminated revenue. So say the feds do what it was threatened to do last year, which was to claw back many of our grants. This is where we would find the funds to shore that up.
Okay.
Sorry, went a longer answer
Nope,
than
that
we
was
probably.
that's exactly what I was looking for.
But you say our excess is like 3.8.
Yes. Currently, our excess reserves as of the end of '25 was at $3,791,939.
The election office in 2028.
2.3.
Should we just earmark some of that for that? And just, because that's inevitable, we're gonna have to do that.
I would agree that using the excess reserves to fund the election equipment would make sense.
I just hate to
I don't
pay
think we,
interest on something that's for 20 years that's only gonna last 10, and then you're gonna add on to that after 10 years again.
good fiscal practice would be you would pay that off before you would before you would get rid of those assets. So yeah, I don't know that we can necessarily earmark that today, but I can present something to the commission requesting that we earmark that so that it's actually at a commission meeting where it's voted on, and that would officially earmark the reserves for that.
So, but if you were to take that out of, and I would probably say, even though the request is maybe 2.3, with everything cost a little bit more than what you anticipate, 2.5 might be more appropriate, just to have that, again,
It's gonna go up.
set aside in your excess reserves.
Yeah. So if I shift that out of this column for cap outlay for '27 and shift it over to the reserves column, That then leaves the 27 requests at 5,163,000 and hasn't been approved yet, but what I requested out of the general expenses budget for cap outlay was 2.5 million. So that would mean we currently still have 2.6, almost 2.7 million more than what was requested in the budget.
Mr. Mays?
So, let's go back to the numbers that you threw out earlier.
Reserves?
Yeah.
Yes.
It was somewhere between
Sorry.
3.8 and like 11?
Yes.
Like, that's a huge variation. How do we get that big of a variation?
That's 5% of our budget. We have a budget of $155 million, and 5% of that would be right under $7 million.
Okay.
So our fund policy is, fund balance policy is that the general fund would have between 20 and 25% of the most recent budget, which would be the 26 budget.
So it just kind of depends on next year's budget.
So that's why, based on next year's budget of currently being asked at 165 million, that's why that 3.8 million drops down to us only having excess reserves of 1.5 next year, because the budget is currently grown by that much extra. If the budget grew not at all, those numbers wouldn't change.
Gotcha. And when we look at those numbers and we're talking about the 26 budget versus the 27 budget, are we still taking into account the extra pay period that we had this year?
Yes. Yes, that already has, so in the 26 budget, we had 27 pay periods in 26, 26, and 27. So in 26, we set aside $4,098,000 for the 27th pay period to be paid out of reserves.
Okay.
And so next year, that is not projected to be in the adjustments because it will already been factored into the ending balance.
Okay. Okay. I guess it slipped my mind that we used reserves to pay for that.
Yeah, we did. We set $4 million aside, hoping that it wouldn't cause a one-time spike in our budget and would allow our budget to be a little more flat as far as mill levies were concerned.
Okay.
Commissioner Rippon?
Yes.
Jennifer, I don't know if can we jump around just a little bit?
Absolutely.
I'd like to hear from the sheriff. I mean, one of the largest expenses is this radio replacements of $1,700,000. I mean, I don't know, Sheriff, or you or your staff could kind of talk about that expense, or whether or not there's any possibility of grant funding, federal assistance.
Shane Hubler, Shawnee County Sheriff's Office. Yes, one of the reasons that we put this on capital outlay for the next 5 years is our radio system is aging, needs to be updated, replaced, and we are aggressively seeking multiple grants to fund it, but I thought we would be remiss in not at least getting on a capital outlay so the commission and the taxpayers are aware that this major expense is coming. If you look at the successive years, there are not this high necessarily, but large expenses for capital outlay that we're anticipating to get the entire radio system replaced.
Okay. So at this point, I know there are some requirements that are coming down the pipeline for encryption requirements that we may not be able to currently meet. Looking at replacement, and if you're going out for an RFP to replace your radio system, is it reasonable for this 1.7 to be in 2027, or should this be an expense for 2028?
I believe that we could move this to 28. My understanding from talking with people at the state of Kansas that oversee a lot of this mandate on encryption, as long as we have a plan to move forward to get towards encryption as soon as possible. I think they understand that funding, especially for an agency our size, that this is something that we're going to have a plan and set forth, and that's the reason that we've already started looking aggressively at grants and other funding sources to try and get this established. I absolutely believe that we can move this to 28.
Commissioner Mays?
So the item on here says radio replacements. Is it just the radios or the network as well? Because I know we own our own network in Shawnee County, which is different from a lot of places, and it's aged as well.
Yes, I wish it was all of the radios, because it's not even all of the radios. We have portable can't speak now. We have portable radios and mobile radios. Don't remember off the top of my head. In my mind, this is for, okay,
That help?
yes.
So here is this is everything after 27. So it's everything after the 1.7.
I believe this is for our mobile radios.
Okay, so I see it there. It's in 2031. Is that the microwave systems backhaul? Is that what that
Correct.
is? Okay.
What is the life expectancy of these radios?
It depends on who you talk to and when you talk to them, sir, respectfully. About 20 years. We've talked to multiple different vendors as we're trying to explore options to try and get this cost to something that's manageable for us, whether that be grant funding or taxpayer dollars. The short version is we're trying to be as fiscally responsible with this entire project. It's part of the reason that we're spreading it out. And obviously, if we were to get a grant that would replace the entire radio system, then we wouldn't have to spread it out. But right now, we're just trying to look at it, taking bits and pieces to get the entire system done. 1 year out, we have had our current vendor, which is Motorola, come in and gave us a life expectancy of everything, and we have based it loosely off of their suggestions on what needs to be replaced first. The mandate for encryption is obviously sped up the radio piece of that. Our microwave backhaul that's on there that you spoke about is very aged, and we're looking at possibly even other solutions besides a microwave backhaul to see if there's a fiber option that we can, but fiber and getting fiber to our tower sites is costly as well. So we're looking at everything as often as we can.
So it's my understanding the state of Kansas also has their own network, and a lot of counties just participate in the state's network. Is that an option as well? Or is there a reason why we own it and not just use that one?
Well, to answer your first question, yes, it is an option. We could theoretically get on the state system. One of the biggest reasons, in my opinion, not to go on the state system is we already own our system, and it's our system, and we are the priority for our system. The citizens of Shawnee County are the priority for our system. If we were to go on the state system and there was a large natural disaster, we can't dictate where the state's going to make priority for radio traffic and where they're not.
Now, it's my understanding that the city of Topeka and the state of Kansas use our network in Shawnee County right now. I mean, is that something that we do? Do we prioritize over them? If there was that natural disaster, would the state not have access to it if we don't want to grant it to them, or how's that work?
Everybody would still have access. It's just urgency of what is being said and who's going to get the information. The city of Topeka and the rural fire, they are all a core part of our system, and so they always will have that priority.
Okay. And then, I guess one more question is, you might not be able to answer this, but, you know, emergency management has this radio truck that they use if there's a natural disaster or something where they can communicate with multiple entities. Is that something that at some point we won't need? If we upgrade our systems?
You're right, I'm not going to be able to answer that.
Okay, Nelson?
Morning, Commissioners. Nelson Castle, Emergency Management. That truck will always have a use, or a truck like that be out beside us. All our other counties, some of them use totally different platforms, others don't. And that would be one way there, is either a command vehicle or a way to tie all those systems in. Even if we were to join the state system or join another system, there's always going to be those disparate channels out there that you may want to use. You may also want to use that as a bubble in itself for a system, so that you're taking the heat off of the main system, whether that's the state of Kansas or Shawnee County or Riley County or the MAR system in Kansas City. It helps to bridge that, and it also keeps the traffic down to a manageable level.
Okay, thank you. Well, I was hoping you would say that we just could get rid of it.
Jennifer, I'm a little bit lost here, and maybe you can kind of help me out. If you can go back one slide.
Yes?
You have down radio replacement 1.7.
Yes.
Go forward one slide.
So this is in 2027,
Right.
they've asked for 1.7, and then also on the same project, in 2028, they've asked for an additional $1 million.
Okay, so
So the total cost of the project is 2.7,
for 2027.
27 and 28 combined.
Okay,
So whenever they set up the project, they estimated they would need to spend 1.7 the first year and 1 million the second year.
got it. And then if you can go back one slide, I'm just
Yes.
on go up to the elections. We moved, the items that we moved,
Yes.
we had talked about it being 2.3 or 2.5.
Yes.
But you've got more than that there.
Correct, that's 3 million.
Well, you've got 1,042,000
Right,
and then
I can,
1,350,000.
yes. I can subtract off the amount they have in their budget, or in their project fund.
298.
Okay,
714. There we go. So now this should add to 2.324.
and so if we set aside 2.5, that should have enough funding there to cover the replacement of the elections equipment.
Yep.
And then if you can go over to the weed department expansion, we had a discussion with John Landon just a little bit ago where we talked about deferring that till 2028. You've got 400,000 there.
Yep. And just in general, the new debt, all of the items that people have asked for new debt, all got plunked into 2027, just letting you know.
But if we remove the 1.7 that the sheriff has requested, and we remove the 400,000 from the weed department, I think that takes us down to needing to get to 963
Yes,
before we would get to our 2.5.
correct.
All right.
Just scroll back to the top. So that leaves in 27, a court data cabling project for 282, DOC security system upgrade for 75, DOC module workstation renovation for 166, replacement locks for the DOC for 132, elevator control upgrades for $250,000.
If we could stop there.
Yep.
Brian, can you talk to us a little bit about the elevator control upgrades? Is this a mission critical, or is this something that it's just we need to get to?
This is, it is mission critical. We've called in our company to look at it. The pieces that we're using to our controls, they're going to be outdated probably next year. And so they're looking at that. What I do want to say is that we are looking at some grants possibly in this area, in both, in our other two requests through Senator Moran's office, and we should probably hear, I think, next month, that could cut those others down. But for the elevators that you asked, we're using, for the 4 or the 6 elevators we have at the department, we're using pieces that they're finding in their shop to get it done. They're outdated. And so this would be mission critical, yes. But I will say for the others, and I know you didn't ask, but I will throw that out there. We do have, Tim Phelps is aggressively working on a grant for 4 modules, because this, if we get that, then that would probably could take that down quite a bit, because that would take care of 4 modules with the locks and the officer workstations in 4 modules with sound. And there's more to that grant with sound baffling and some infrastructure areas in there, but that's what that is. But we're keeping our eye on that. But this was we did have the elevator company come in and basically tell us that this is where we're headed. And this takes account for all 6 elevators.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Brett.
Let's see. The emergency management has a couple items in 27, 60,000 for outdoor warning siren sustainments, and a radio refresh for 53,000.
On the radio refresh, Nelson, is this something that we could tag team with the sheriff's office if they're looking for some grants? You'll need to, sorry, I need you to be on record.
Let the record show a thumbs up. Let's get
Yes, we could tie in. It's just a different model of radio that we would use to refresh our cache.
Okay. So is that something that we can defer to 28 as well, so we can try to work together on a joint grant?
Yep, that'll work.
Okay. All right.
move it down the line.
And I suppose the elections office wants heating and cooling.
We'd like some cooling too, to be fair.
Yes, their heating and cooling system update is at 75,000. And there is the JP Lewis WIC office emergency egress is estimated 50,000 for 2027 as well. We already talked a little bit about the miscellaneous small cap outlay projects. I do believe I don't know the exact amount of what they were.
I understand.
1 hour stand notice. But there were some items in multiple budgets. I believe it was maybe the clerk's office, register of deeds, and treasurer. I'm not sure which of the 3, all 3, a couple of the 3 had items for assets, like doing upgrades to their doors and those type of items, we can look at whether or not those, in my mind, those would be exactly what the small item CIP is for. So we could possibly look at stripping those out of the request for the budget for those departments and being able to fund them either with the 2026 small item, which comes in November, or the 2027 small item, which comes next November. So I would think those would be some small cuts we could possibly make to those departments' budgets, and be funded out of this small cap outlay project line. So not helping us today, but helping us Thursday. IT has some upgrades to the courthouse and admin building security, and in the amount of $255,000.
I would like to hear more about that.
Absolutely. Just gonna scroll to there.
Morning, Commissioners. Mark Price again, IT. This is for replacement of the network video recorders that stores all the video from the cameras throughout the courthouse and North Annex and 707 building. Those were put in beginning of 2020. They're just coming up on a 7-year life cycle, time to replace, as parts are getting hard to find for these as they fail, and at some point they're going to hit end of life and we'll have to do a replacement.
That's all I had. Those questions all I had.
Okay, which brings us to the end of the list, which is a couple projects for Parks and Rec. One for Adventure Cove parking lot mill and overlay of $175,000. One for the DK Clark Park development for $450,000. We also,
If we could stop on the,
Yeah.
on the park. Tim, I know that this is a new park that we're developing in central Topeka, Old Town Topeka area. You've set aside $450,000. Is this something that I know can be phased in a couple of projects? I know you had also talked about applying for some Dreams grants from the city of Topeka to fund part of this. Can you talk a little bit more about this 450?
Yeah, Tim Laurent, Parks and Recreation Department. Yes, this is a new park development. We've been trying to get a real solid number for this meeting. This is an estimate that I've put together. We've got one of the playground manufacturers that we work with on a regular basis is going to come in and evaluate it and give us some true numbers. We got rained out a couple of times last week, but we're scheduled to meet with them tomorrow morning. So hopefully I'll have a better number soon, although I feel like this is probably fairly accurate. To answer your question, yes, I think we could phase it in over time. You're correct when you talk about the Dreams Grant. That is something that I think that neighborhood association is going to apply for. I think they've maybe even started that process already. And there's also been a little discussion of trying to raise some private funding for that park. So, yeah, I think we could try to phase it
When we
in.
talk about the development of the park, we talked about there's needing to do some excavation work to level off the
Yeah.
area, looking to do a little bit of ground cleanup, and then look at maybe putting in some amenities, like maybe a basketball court, a small shelter, a small swing set or playground area. Is that, I mean,
Yeah, that's all accurate.
Okay.
That's exactly what we're doing.
Is it big enough to accommodate all that?
The thought is a small shelter, a relatively small and medium-sized playground and a half-court basketball.
right.
We think we hope we can fit in there. Like I said,
Kind
I
of like
think
what used to be at Boswell Park?
What's that?
Kind of like what's at Boswell Park, 'cause isn't that
Yeah.
about what they have there?
Yeah, similar.
With a big field next to it, yeah.
Yeah, you wouldn't have the big field, because it'll get
Right.
eaten up. But yeah, it'll take up most of that. And we've met with the, the folks that have been instrumental in making this happen, and that those are some of the amenities that they would like to see in the park.
That Dreams Grant, is that a new word for the block grant?
Yes.
It is.
And I assume, does this include like planting trees and things like that also?
This does not. This is just the equipment. So the landscaping and that sort of thing, we would probably take care of out of our own budget over
Okay.
time.
I would think we could phase that in, stretch it a little bit.
While you're up here, the Adventure Cove parking lot, is that, the $175,000, is that assuming that Public Works does it or that we contract it out?
That was a price we got contracting it out, so we might be able to save a little if Public Works were to do it, but that was a price we got from a vendor.
Okay. Kurt, is that something that you guys would be capable of doing?
Well, probably the biggest issue is time. I don't know how big of a project it is. If it's asphalt paving, we could do it. If it's concrete, curb and gutter, that might be something that's a little more challenging for us. So I really need to know the scope of the project before I could make a final assessment.
Would you be willing to take a look at it?
Absolutely.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Those are your two that you have on capital outlay.
I think so.
That's it.
And Kurt just gave us more good news. He thinks we're actually only $820,000 off because this should be funded in one of his other funding sources.
And Jennifer, if we can go back to the DK Clark Park, if we were to take 200,000 off and put that onto 28, so that we have 250 and 27 and 200, or 250 and 27, 228, again, looking at those Dreams grants and other fundraising and things that we might be able to look at doing.
Yeah.
You said 250 in 2027 and
Yes,
200 in
200
28.
in the
Yep.
Okay.
following year.
That brings us to being 620,000 over the requested budget of 2.5. So the last few items we have is there are 2 items for Public Works, which total $300,000. He currently has those slotted for the dump truck refresh and an articulated wheeled loader refresh. Don't know what that is, but we already talked about the 2 sheriff items, and then the event center has 2 items listed, $150,000 for a Landon Arena party platform, and $250,000 for event center, Landon loge boxes, and living room suites.
Let's talk about those.
Okay.
It's obviously money is relatively tight right now, as we've heard all the other conversations. I know that these theoretically will have return on investment.
Correct.
Of these 2 items, which one is the highest priority?
The last one on the list there, the Landon Loge Box and Living Room Suite, that would be the higher priority item, for sure. So the Landon Arena Party Platform, that's that party deck that was going to go over the security entrance. It was part of our original renovation plans back in 2018, 2019. We took it out of the original project to keep it budget, and then we've just been adding it to the CIP fund request as time has gone on.
Is that the one, is that the northwest corner?
Yes.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, so the Landon Loge Boxes and Living Room Suite would be the 2 corners in the upper deck very first few rows in the south end of the arena. So flanking above
Okay.
Prairie Band Bar left and right.
So the seats that we rarely sell.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. We have obviously a huge amount of interest in additional tables in that Prairie Band section. We are basically sold out of those at any given time. We do not have any of those available. So to expand upon that, since we don't sell those sections of seats very often, make it a more premium area that we could sell on a permanent basis.
Okay, and I understand, like, both of these make sense, right?
Yeah.
The party platform right now, those seats rarely come down.
Correct. There's
right?
actually
They're-
not any
they're
seats
up
on there.
and- Oh, there's no
It's
seats.
just a stair
So
step
it's just
deck.
wasted space
It's
currently.
a stair step deck that we have to put seats out onto. We used to use it for hockey back in 2004, 2005. The only other time it's been down was during presidential visits. Other than that, that deck has remained up for every other event since then.
And there's another one on the other corner, right next?
That
Isn't it
one
on the east side?
Yeah, on the east side. That one comes down for most every event, though.
Okay.
That one has built-in seating on it.
Okay. Now, the only thing that concerns me with that is that a lot of times if we have a concert or anything, they set up the stage on the north end.
Correct.
And so it wouldn't be accessible for events like that.
Correct. This would be more for demolition derbies,
Hockey.
hockey games. Think, smaller companies that would want to take 20, 30 employees out and have their own private space. And just maybe like for birthday parties or whatever, just to have a little more. It's not the VIP section down by Prairie Band or private suite, but it is a little more private where you could have a larger group on that.
Okay. That's all from me. Thank you.
Mr. Cook?
So Michelle Rose has done a great job with partnerships and development and
Absolutely.
Things of that nature. I mean, $150,000, or is there a possibility of trying to enter into a partnership agreement with XYZ, and it would be the XYZ party platform?
Correct. She has had a lot of those conversations. She hasn't had any takers on that yet.
Okay.
We were actually, when we got our price for the loge boxes, that was a conversation we had with a couple of contractors, and one of the contractors is actually interested in some sponsorship opportunities. So that could eventually take that 250 number down as well. But right now, that's the request, just because, that was the actual price that they gave us for that work. So we didn't want to, ask for less and then that not come to fruition.
All right. Other questions?
No.
Thank you.
All right.
Jennifer, and I'd like to hear from maybe the undersheriff or the sheriff about the pursuit-rated vehicle replacement, 550. I know that we've been doing this now for several years with our annual replacement, but it's a kind of a big one on our list to look at.
Under Sheriff Hoover, Shawnee County Sheriff's Office, yes. We drive 1.8 million miles a year. We need to replace approximately 10 vehicles every year. And that is to keep our pursuit-rated vehicles that are out on the street responding to emergencies at a lower mileage level than a lot of our other vehicles that we have out there. We have explored lots of different other options that just didn't seem to be fiscally responsible. We've looked at leasing. We've looked at leasing our pursuit-rated vehicles, having them upfitted. When they come in leased, it just doesn't, when you get to the end of life, we don't have the ability to subsequently move our pursuit-rated vehicles that we bring now, when they get to the mileage that we don't feel like they're safe to be responding lights and sirens to an emergency. We put them into a different area to be utilized where they aren't used as emergency vehicles. I'd be happy to answer any other specific questions.
The request for the 550, I mean, if you're looking at 10 vehicles, that's 55,000 a vehicle. That seems fairly reasonable considering what it costs to buy a vehicle today and outfit it for all of the equipment.
We think there's some cost savings in there, and We hope to be able to utilize those. We just try to keep the number as low as we possibly could and still get the vehicles that we need.
But my understanding is that doesn't include the upfitting, right?
That is correct, sir.
Does it also take into account the sale of the old vehicles? I know that a lot of times, like, some of the other more rural law enforcement agencies or something might want to take our stuff if they can get a discounted on it, you know?
I don't want to say we drive ours until the wheels fall off, because we don't. By the time we sell our vehicles, they have enough miles on them and enough other issues that we are not getting a premium price. Could we get rid of them sooner? Yes, but then we'd have to buy more sooner.
So what's our average mileage when we're replacing vehicles?
We take them out of emergency service as close to 100,000 as possible. It is pushed up closer to 120 because oil has improved. Engineering on vehicles has improved. It's probably closer to 120 right now. Those vehicles will then go into non-emergency units, and we have vehicles in our non-emergency units that were pursuit rated when they were initially bought that are well over 150,000 miles at this point. If that answered your question.
It does.
So, I mean, when you're looking at vehicles, there's two ways to look at it, right? One is miles, the other is age. How long does it take a vehicle to get to 150,000 miles with the work that you guys put them through?
There's lots of variables that go into that. How many miles an officer drives in a day, first shift officer that isn't responding to a lot of calls during first shift hours may put a lot more miles. A third shift officer or a second shift officer that's responding call to call and has a lot of time wrapped up in report writing, et cetera, or if they get a DUI stop, then you have a lot of time sitting down. So it really does vary. If we can get 5 years before we hit the 120,000 mile mark, we're pretty happy. And then we try and keep all of our vehicles in that 10-year range. So we'll get the extra 40 or 50,000 miles out of them in the additional 5 years after they've been removed from emergency service.
But I guess going back to the initial question that Commissioner Mays asked, where's the money going when you do outsource the vehicles or dispose of them? Is that going into the sheriff's funds, or is that going into our general reserves? Where's that money going from the sale of the vehicles?
The answer is yes. If you want to expand on that.
So whenever the memos come across the agenda, they will state on there what they were wanting to use the funds for. The majority of the funds are requested to go into their equipment fund to be used to help purchase other equipment that the sheriff's office has.
Okay. So that brings us into that.
Yeah. So that bottom line is accurate now that you have
Yes.
shown.
That is with both of the event center items. I didn't think you guys decided to
No.
move one. But that includes both of those items funded.
I think that's probably about as far as we can get today.
Yep. And I can give you an updated printout of where we ended the day.
All right.
Whittled it down a little bit. A lot.
Did you also want me to work on a memo requesting the allocation of reserves, reserving reserves for the election equipment?
Yes.
That'd be a good idea.
And then also maybe just a memo on what excess reserves we would also have available for maybe some capital outlay projects. So, I mean, if we're talking about 3 million, and if we've used 2.5, that leaves us with about a $500,000 left. We're about 600,000 over. whether or not we would then use some of the extra or the other reserves to address some of these capital outlays.
Yep. I will also bring like the summary, the use of the reserves. So I believe the official use of the reserves, looking, not sure. I'll make sure that I get this off of the memo, but I believe that it was listed for debt reduction within the constraints of call dates, one-time expenditures that do not increase operating expenses and cannot be funded by revenues, equipment replacement, capital projects, emergencies, or disaster recovery. Fiscal emergency, and if the balance should drop below the minimum, then the commission would create and implement a plan to restore the minimum within 3 years.
Jennifer, we had another sheet here, a separate sheet for the treasurer.
Yes, that was included on,
That was in there.
Well, yeah, I wanted to kind of go back to it. I mean, it was under,
Here.
yeah, if we can have the treasurer come up and talk about this 400,000 for the annex.
Good morning, Susan Duffy, Shawnee County Treasurer. The $400,000 figure was just a stab in the dark, so if we wanted to do renovation, wanted to look at other things going on in the office, just so you know, the legislature did pass a bill that there is a committee reviewing the treasurer title and tag automation change. If you remember, back in 2012, they instituted a new electronic tag and title for all the counties. It did not go well. It's still what we're using, and they are looking at replacing, upgrading, whatever. The story may be that counties will be on the hook for part of that upgrade in terms of how it affects their particular county with printers or whatever. But this amount of money that we put in was just a placeholder for renovation for the annex, and potentially if there's some things we need at the courthouse, but mainly the annex.
Susan, obviously in that bill, there were also some changes to the fees that you're allowed to charge, which would theoretically increase your budget for next year.
Yes.
And I believe that went into effect July 1st.
Yes.
Have you made any changes or seen any changes so far with that new revenue source?
Yes, so we swapped out one revenue source for another, so the facility fee did go away. In its place is a fee, a processing fee that is continues at $5 for anybody who walks in, sends us by mail or does it online. What we are in the process of doing is hiring people. That is our biggest need, is we do not have enough staff. So this funding, this $5 that is in place instead of the facility fee, is only guaranteed for 3 years. It sunsets at the end of the 3-year time period. Hopefully the legislature will see that it is beneficial to all 105 counties, and will be able to retain it for whether it's operating expenses or salaries and wages. But we are in the process right now of filling some vacancies that the previous treasurer could not fill because he did not have the money. And so when people left or retired, we had to leave them vacant. Therefore, a lot of our lines, certain days have gotten very long. I stood out there not too long ago and turned all people away because we just did not have enough staff to process everybody before 5:30. And, you know, we close at 4:30, but the way it looked with the numbers in our office, especially the annex, so I was turning folks away telling them before they got out of their car they'd have to come back tomorrow. This will allow us to fill positions and hopefully serve the public faster and get them in and out the door. So that's what I am using some of the money for right now, is to fill some of the vacancies.
All right. Okay, thank you, Susan.
Thank you, appreciate that.
Is there any other CIP questions you have for today?
Yeah, you're gonna print us out a new,
Yes.
thank you. That's all I need. All right. Is that all the damage we can do?
Well,
now?
I think that we need to look at new debt, or maybe some discussion of what,
Okay,
I don't know if we're gonna take on new debt, but what had been requested with new debt. Because it's a pretty big number.
It is. So the new debt items that were requested were, okay, sorry. The DOC renovation for inmate processing for $35 million. A Grange Hall at Old Prairie Town for $2 million. The Family Park Facility Phase 2 Cypress Ridge Clubhouse for $250,000. No, that is missing a zero, right? Is that right? 2.5 million for that? Okay. We will, that is what we have in our system. We will verify that amount. That does not seem near enough. The Dornwood Complex renovation for $1 million. West Edge Road Mill and Overlay for $1.6 million. Okay. Lake Shawnee, now I'm doubting all these numbers. Lake Shawnee Boathouse renovation for 4.5. Ted Ensley Garden Refresh for $1 million. An Old Prairie Town Visitor Center and Entranceway for $695,000. The Shawnee North Community Center replacement for $20 million, and then a Shawnee South Park renovation for $1.5 million. That is everything that was submitted for CIP projects utilizing debt for 2027. I believe we have one item that was listed for 28, and that was a adult residential center for the DOC Community Corrections section. I believe this is the number you used with your budget presentation. Yeah. That is 8.5 is the amount that I saw whenever Tim was doing his budget.
Tim, can we talk about the Dornwood complex renovation? I know that we've made some efforts to sort of improve things out there a little bit, just kind of on our own.
Yeah.
What does an additional $1 million get us there? Because I know that the needs are relatively great. but I don't know what exactly that's for. I know there's drainage problems or.
Yeah, I think at the bare minimum, we went back at some time ago and renovated 2 of those ball diamonds. New backstops, new fencing, laser leveled the infields, that sort of thing. New dugouts. We still have 3 fields that we'd like to do that to, and I think that the majority of this would be in that area, those 3 fields. New dugouts, new backstops, new fencing, lighting is also an issue. There's some question about how much lighting we actually need, but this at the bare minimum would get us, would deliver some of the items that were discussed with the Dornwood Association when we started this process.
So this would redo like the outfield fences and all of that. So one of the problems with that complex is the layout is not
It's not
ideal at all. I mean, is there any, for $1 million, could we reconfigure things there to make it work better? I mean, it seems like there could be some economies of scale if we have four fields in a quad rather than, one field clear at the other end of the complex.
Well, I agree with you 100% that those fields are not laid out in an ideal way, but I don't think for $1 million we can go in and reconfigure everything. I think it would be considerably more than that to do that. We'd be tearing up infields and creating new infields.
There's one field that if it was turned, then all the backstops would be along that one main axis where people could, but there's one field that's.
It's the other way, and then you got the other one that's across the street.
I don't know what it would take grade-wise to make that
Yeah.
change, but that would.
I mean, I'd be happy to look into that. I think the number's gonna be different, but.
That would greatly increase the
Yeah.
access to the fields and make it a smoother operation.
Yeah.
And sorry to interrupt,
Yeah.
go ahead.
No, I've done a master plan for that years ago where they didn't let me turn the field at the time.
Yeah.
But the master plan, I
I
think.
have your plan, yeah.
I think it'd work really good if we just turned that one field and then make improvements on the axis. That would be a huge improvement. I don't know what that would cost.
Yeah, I did not factor that into this number, but we could certainly look at that.
It's an awkward setup right now.
It is.
I mean, it is a project we've only been working on for the last decade.
Right. Yeah, this was in progress. I started here in 2019, and those other fields had been completed when I started.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. We did the dedication in 14, 15,
Oh, okay.
so.
The Grange Hall, we do have some funding from the Friends of Old Prairie Town in there. I don't know what that's up to now, but I know at one time they committed about $500,000 for that project. I think they could probably go a little higher now even. We don't have many people that contribute money to these projects. In fact, I don't know of any on here. But that's,
Cypress Ridge, we've had some private money donated to that.
but I don't want to discourage the people out there at
Sure.
all. They've been working hard. They haven't had any kind of new facility out there in 20 years. And that would be,
Well, all their facilities are old, so,
yeah, well, that's, yeah.
just kidding.
It would be a game changer though to have the
Yeah.
Grange Hall because, a lot of events are weather driven and that's most
Right.
of them out there. And if you had some place you could program for or go into if there's bad weather, it would be a huge difference.
Tim, we had talked about maybe combining the community, the Old Prairie Town Visitor Center entryway into the Grange Hall
Yeah.
as one project,
Yeah.
rather than having it as two separate.
Yeah, I think we could do that, and we've talked about it a little bit since the other day. In that design for the Grange Hall, there's an office that's sort of built into that, and it could be turned into that visitor center spot. It's, it's not ideal in that you still got to walk into the middle of the park to be able to find it, but we could do signage and that sort of thing, get people there.
Yes.
All right, let's, Shawnee South, park renovation. Now, we're proceeding with putting basketball court in right now.
Yeah, I'd actually hoped that that would be done. I think the last I heard, they were going to try to get started this week,
Okay.
so.
And then, you know, the remainder of it, I think, even if we don't end up bonding for it, I think it's good if we at least look at chipping away at that.
Sure.
Within the existing budget.
Yeah, and I think there's some of that we can do, but when you start talking about putting in a shelter and a walking, you know, a fitness loop, that might be outside of what we can do with our existing budget, but we'll continue to do what we can.
Okay.
All right. Any other discussion?
Not today.
Not today. All right. Okay, are we through with the CIP then for the day?
I think so.
Okay, we'll move on down the agenda here, another item, and we're up to public comment, and I have, looks like 5 different people signed, 4 different people. So get your things. All right. First one I have signed up is Amy Gillette.
Good morning. My name is Amy Gillette. My address is 5500 Southwest Mound View Drive in Topeka. I'm outside the city limits in Shawnee County in District 3, about 2.5 miles from the proposed Compass data center site. This morning I want to talk to you about the impact the data center explosion in Virginia has had on our water supply. This one is for you, Rich, because we're looking at the 8 golden factors that guide zoning decisions here in Kansas, and in this one we're talking about factor number 5. Relative gain to public health, safety, and welfare as compared to the loss in value or hardship imposed by the applicant. We're looking at the protection of public health and safety being the basis of zoning. Okay, so just about a week and a half ago, the AP News put out an article about a Virginia study on groundwater. I'm going to read just a little bit of this article from it. Virginia, the world's largest data center hub, has released a long-delayed study that examines the state's eastern region groundwater supply and the resource-hungry industry's possible impact on it, finding declines are likely in a critical aquifer due to population growth and industrial use, and it's urging stricter regulations. Produced by environmental scientists, this report, which the state for more than 6 months refused to release, said regulators should have more authority to reject industrial water withdrawal permits, force entities to examine alternative sources of water, and clamp down on users who might be using more water than they should. State Senator Richard Stewart, a conservative Republican, made this a big issue. He's been making noise about the issue for about 15 years, and he was the one who ordered this study. Basically, they had a Senate bill, this study came about, and the state held it back for about 6 months. Who knows, for whatever reason, the AP put an open records request out for it. They still didn't give it to the AP, and when the AP said they were going to publish an article about them not releasing it, they finally released it. Okay. So before I go into more detail about this, I'm going to ask that you not let the current Compass application proceed before a complete environmental impact study or statement is prepared that is not directly funded by Compass, like the studies in their application. Approving the RFQ for a consulting engineer last week was a very good step, and an EIS would be one more step in assuring the public that whatever is planned is not going to have a prolonged negative effect on our community. Also worth noting, we have to parse through a 144-page study funded by taxpayer money, as opposed to any of this information about water usage being given over freely by these companies. Okay, so Virginia Department of Environmental Quality. It says it's the most comprehensive report up to date to address how much groundwater supply is available in Virginia. Also, just to note, Virginia has the most data centers of anywhere in the US. Okay, the groundwater level rise peaked between 2013 and 2021, depending on location. From 21 to 24, every analyzed well showed either diminishing water level or a growing decline. If trend continues, all of the analyzed wells are projected to enter a condition of declining water levels within 5 to 10 years. Also, under current conditions, the aquifer system has limited capacity for significant new withdrawals. So basically, they are saying only certain parts of this region can support any new industrial users at all. By putting all of these data centers in, they're closing out a whole bunch of other opportunities for business that now cannot be allowed in because of how much they have used. They put in some very good controls, they worked, then the data centers came in. I will send this study to all of you so you can peruse it on your own time. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sharon Gillette.
Hello. My name is Sharon Gillette, and I'm a homeowner at 5500 Southwest Mountain View Drive, Topeka, Kansas. I say I live in Topeka, but I actually live in unincorporated Shawnee County. I'm a retired elementary school teacher who, I'll admit, I'm not tech savvy at all. I've never been on Facebook, never been on Instagram, LinkedIn, or any other social media site. But I do consider myself well informed by choosing reputable journalistic sites and sources. I'm open to considering both sides of any issue. I look at negatives and I look at positives, and then, and only then, I form an opinion once I actually understand. Let me tell you about two things I don't understand. Number one, I went to the Compass open house trying to get some answers. I wanted some facts from people who should know. Instead, I got inconsistencies from the different Compass people that I talked to. One example was about water usage that the data center would consume. One rep there told me that the water the center would be using had coolant chemicals in it that would circulate throughout and would only needed to be flushed out maybe once a year or so. Another I spoke with said, oh, no chemicals are ever put in the coolant system, so this water is flushed out and this water is not polluted. How do I form an opinion from those two answers? They're directly opposite. Number two, I don't understand. This is such a sense of urgency and a big push to get this center built. I've heard this is the equivalent of a golden egg being laid here for Shawnee County. Shawnee County is going to miss out. Other areas are going to gain all these revenues. Shawnee County is going to have regrets. Do it, build it, now. Well, we're constantly told, if pressured to make a quick decision without time to do reasonable research, you'll probably be sorry. Please give me time to be informed. Let's do research. Let's understand so there are no regrets. Thank you. Thank you.
Colleen Camp.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm sure you're tired of seeing us just as much as we are tired of being here. And I'm not sure you appreciate us being here. You guys are all paid to be here, and we have to pay, right? We have to pay for parking and our time, and we have to be vulnerable in front of you and tell you what our concerns are and where we, about ourselves and what we think. And you don't have that same vulnerability. And I hope you appreciate that aspect of us coming and talking to you. Evelyn had to leave because of parking. First off, I would like to take a moment to speak about what data centers are and what their purposes are. And I just want to remind you, I am an environmental scientist when I'm speaking. There are two main kinds of data centers, a small data center and a hyperscale data center. Both are used to store data. They do not produce data for your phone or any other device you might be using. Compass has tried to tell people that in the meeting that they had. A data center may be used to run computations or run systems. For example, in Topeka, BNSF has a data center. It's used to help with functioning the rail system. Evergy has a data center that stores information about the power grid. It does not, however, produce power, in the same way that BNSF's data center does not produce trains. The largest data center we have, which is on those maps that I just passed out, is ISG data center, which houses medical information, is across from the Moore Response Management Group. It's just right over there, just 2 minutes down the road. While not technically a data center, it does have a lot of servers, and it takes up a large piece of land. The proposed Compass data center is 67 times larger than that. And you can see right there on that map how big that is. It's hard to imagine. It's roughly the same size as 460 football fields. I have a hard time imagining that as well. I started looking up things roughly the same size, and I found national parks, restored wetlands, and movie filming locations. As you're aware, 2 Fridays ago, a conditional use permit was applied by Compass. It's under light industrial zoning, which seems to be unusual considering the land itself and the land around is used for agriculture. I would also like to speak of the designation uses for light industrial versus heavy use. Light industrial is used for a wide range of light, which are not considered obnoxious or offensive by any reason of odor, dust, smoke, gas, or noise. There are no minimum requirements unless a budding dwelling district, and no maximum height requirement except for subject to airport hazard zone. And then heavy is the district provides uses including additional heavy industrial uses subject to approval by the governing body for fire department, health agency, dimensional requirements, the same as a 1-1 district. As I'm sure you know, the obnoxious and offensive nature of the data centers is the reason you have so many people who are upset with the building of this facility. I want you to know what that land looks like right now. It's actually quite beautiful. There's a creek and tons of butterflies and bumblebees and other pollinators which we need. I'm sure you've heard in the news that we are losing pollinators. There's a ton out there. Hawks and swallows. The land itself is not flat. To get ready for any type of large construction, it will require extensive digging. Some counties have already experienced routine construction, which has damaged wells and are no longer usable. I know you don't really care about the people who live nearby, so let's talk about what you do care about. If Walmart and Mars suddenly have cracked foundations and no usable water, what do you think will happen? I'm not even talking about the data center itself. I'm talking about the awfulness of construction. Compass isn't just here, it's in other places, and those places aren't happy. We have a petition that has over 700 people have signed and added their names and also their concerns. How would you feel if we made this a ballot option? I think we can get the numbers. We have not yet begun to fight. Thank you.
Thank you. And Evelyn Davis is left. Okay. Richard, do you know how many acres this site is?
It's 607.58 acres.
607?
0.5.
We share a name.
All right. Next on our agenda is administrative communications.
Good morning, Commissioners. Just a reminder to everyone that on Thursday, August the 6th, we will be having our first budget discussions, and we have that also scheduled for Thursday, August the 16th. No, 13th. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Commissioner Mays?
Nothing from me.
Commissioner Cook?
Looking forward to the budget discussions, best time of the year.
Man, gee. I don't have anything to add. Next on the item, executive session. We do have a need for an executive session. I am going to make a motion that we consult with an attorney for the body or agency that would be deemed privileged in an attorney-client relationship concerning contract negotiations with Maynard Conference Center. Probably be 20 minutes. Let's give ourselves 10 minutes here. So let's start at like 11. We do it in 8 minutes. 11 o'clock, 20 minutes. That's a motion.
Second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Rippon, seconded by Commissioner Cook. All in favor, say aye. Those opposed, motion passes 3-0.
Just to clarify, is it you and the county council?
I think that'd be it. Yep.
Thank you.
We are back from executive session. No action was taken at this time, so we're adjourned.